Now we go to the 4th round pick, 135, and I gave this a B. This is Aidan O'Connell. Now you got to understand, this is a guy that had he come out after 21, many people had him projected as a first or very high second round quarterback. He had a lot of love. Now he was not. Remember we talked about McShay and Kuiper, how they do their boards. The majority of the NFL is a quarterback running league now. And so he wasn't as high on their boards because he's a statue. He's going to stand in the pocket till the very last second. He's tough as nails. I'm not calling him Tom Brady, but his style is Tom Brady. He's extremely accurate. So he comes back in 22. A lot of people thought, oh man, he's making a mistake, but he wanted an opportunity. There were some things that program had to battle through, some changes, but I would tell anyone, put on the tape the Big Ten championship game, watch him, watch what he did. The game against Michigan, excuse me. But this is a guy in the Josh McDaniels system. With what Josh McDaniels does, there were some concerns about Hooker, none of it character in football, but just the healing of his body. That this is a guy that comes in, he's going to be a 4th rounder, he's going to be an immediate backup, but it's a guy that would not shock me if he becomes the starter at some point. He can play, he's smart, he's a leader, he's loved in the locker room. I thought this was a solid pick based on their system. Now, let me just say something. If I was a general manager of the Raiders, they'd be running an offense with a mobile quarterback. But I'm not the general manager. And just because you want them to run it doesn't mean it's fair to grade players on the system you want. You judge them on the system the Raiders had. I gave this a B, and I really like O'Connell. I've watched him play a ton in person in the stadium as well as on television. Your thoughts on O'Connell?
I think, excuse me, I think that, we had talked about, again, during all your mock drafts, that you were going to go and see them go with a developmental type quarterback in the middle rounds. You had said Tanner McKee was the guy we talked about a ton on here from Stanford. I've seen a couple of, one or two sources or outlets that had O'Connell slightly ahead of Tanner McKee. Mm-hmm. They're similar type of players. They're smart, they're experienced, they're tough. They're mostly going to perform in the pocket, but you can use them a little bit in the play action game or functionally outside the pocket the way Josh McDaniels wants to. And the way that it shapes up is now you got a guy who is your QB3 to start, and maybe you have a guy who becomes a cheap and reliable backup quarterback, and you got him for only a mid-round pick. And other, that's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is maybe you find a low-cost starter, a guy that's capable down the line when Jimmy Garoppolo leaves, or if Jimmy Garoppolo does get hurt, you find a guy who's a capable starter, and maybe he's your bridge to your eventual franchise guy.
I want to talk about the Tanner McKee thing because I had the Raiders taking him in the 4th round all along because he was their number 2 guy in that. Well, Hendon Hooker was their first guy in that second tier, but again, he started falling off. Matter of fact, let's go back. I want to rephrase that because I want to be 100% accurate. They had one guy at their top, and I'm going to tell everybody who that is on Thursday or Friday. Then they had another group of guys. They had Hendon Hooker right there, Aidan O'Connell, and Tanner McKee. But when there was concern about how fast is he healing, okay, we're going to take that. And then it was Aiden. They did not expect, I know this for a fact, they wanted to get a quarterback probably in round 4. That's why in my mocks, I had him taking a quarterback in round 4 after I took Hendon off. And they didn't think Aiden would be there. That's why I went Tanner McKee, because he was their second choice all the time. And I was shocked Aiden O'Connell was there. I know a lot of people were. But I think it was a good pick. I think he could become a starter. Not saying he will, but you got to remember, people at home, next year's quarterback class is exponentially better than this year's quarterback class. So you take a run on them at 4, you like them, you keep them developed, but just remember next year's quarterback class is a really